Bitches leave.
Bitches, come!
No. You can't do that. For those unfamiliar with Taeon's previous game, Terminator Resistance was a cheap, janky, but ultimately fun love letter to James Cameron's films. Robocop Rogue City is another humble success along those same lines, unpolished and maybe even outright broken, but held together by plenty of heart. While the post-apocalyptic wastelands of Resistance didn't allow for many film locations to show up in the game, Rogue City goes overboard recreating almost every interior seen in Robocop. The police department's lobby, garage, shooting range, of course. The industrial mill from Murphy's fateful raid, you bet. The OCP tower, complete with the bathroom where that guy threatened the other guy mere seconds after hopping his old ass off the toilet seat? Yeah, why not? Regardless of which direction you look, there are at least 3.5 movie references being made at all times. The satirical media break segments are also inserted between chapters with varying degrees of success.
Confused seamen mistakenly opened fire on the last Lapland reservation, killing 12. Thankfully, our homesick sailors are back on U.S. soil. Welcome back, boys.
If you've ever wished you could plug a controller into the Robocop movie, this is the game for you. But nostalgia alone isn't worth anything without a solid game underneath, and Rogue City almost basically is one. It's a simple, old-fashioned shooter. In most levels, you plow through gauntlets of goons and maybe tackle a few side objectives, like rescuing hostages or hacking computers. You can also save multiple cats, which is the game's strong point.
There he is.
I likened Resistance to Rare's N64 shooters, and I would do the same here. Absolutely everything explodes with the slightest graze of a bullet, and the first level especially reminds me of the Datadyne Tower in Perfect Dark. The hook, of course, is that you're playing as Robocop, and this is where the movie references turn into actual mechanics with substance. Robocop uses the same targeting interface as in the film, and when paired with his machine pistol, it really does feel like you've been inserted into the shootout scenes. Other weapons, like the car-exploding 50 caliber rifles, also find useful roles in the gameplay. As in the movie, they serve as one of the few threats Robocop has to take seriously. Likewise, getting your own hands on one can make much shorter work of other armored robots. Robocop can also slow time down for brief periods with a button press, which is a handy skill to unlock for dealing with biker gangs. Maybe the best thing about the game is how it contrives excuses for these eruptions of violence to constantly happen.
I'm on the second floor and have a visual on multiple armed suspects entering our location.
Hello, Dr. Blanche. I got a special delivery for you.
But I haven't ordered anything.
I want details of the project and the names of those involved.
Looks like a full-blown riot is going down.
In this universe, Robocop can't get a cat down from a tree without stumbling into a gang war or prison riot.
Here it is.
Isn't that the tape we're looking for?
Do you need assistance?
It is just delightful. The gore is absurdly over the top, with optional upgrades to make the blood spraying and limb severing even more overt. No muffin is safe from the flying brains.
Oh, that's the gift I was talking about.
While the original film was violent enough to receive 11 X ratings before finally slipping through with a mere R, I do question making Robocop the perpetrator of extreme violence. In the film, gore was used to exaggerate the callous inhumanity of the OCP and criminals.
Well, give the man a hand!
Robocop himself shot a dick every now and then, sure, but he mostly beat thugs up with PG-13 punching. In the game, their brutality can make it feel less like you're role-playing Robocop than Homelander. If the ultra-violence doesn't appeal to you, there's plenty of desk work that needs to be done. While the main draw of a game like this is obviously the Robocop power fantasy, it's unexpectedly fun to occupy him with absolute mundanities instead. In between the shootout stages are rests at the police department, where Robocop can take on optional missions to fix phone lines, seek towels for damp men, and interact with the public.
I would like to report my son missing.
Your son was found dead 2 hours ago.
Nailed it. Downtown Detroit also serves as an open-world hub for police patrols. You can issue parking tickets, thwart vandalism, and uncover side quests that require back-and-forth detective work to solve. Often this involves Arkham-style scanning of crime scenes to uncover clues and sometimes almost get Robocop laid.
If your mature lady won't be able to satisfy you, I'm sure I'll find someone younger that would be happy to help.
Come on in. I can't fall asleep when I'm alone in bed.
Yep. Humana. The choices you make on the beat will impact how the public views Robocop. Showing more empathy improves favorability ratings, but some criminals lie to exploit your compassion.
Cuff him!
You're not as naive as I thought, Robo-Pig.
You also choose responses in psych evaluations and interviews that have a moderate impact on the outcome of the story. Players of Terminator Resistance will be familiar with these NPC relationships, as well as the god-awful, no-good, wonderful, very bad acting that pervades them.
But I'm innocent! I swear! I didn't do it! You have to believe me!
It's like they cast Milhouse from The Simpsons to play the NPCs, gave him the direction of more Milhouse, and then cranked up the Milhouse in post. This isn't criticism of the game as much as it is praise of it. It simply would not be as much fun if the actors weren't face-planting every other line of dialogue.
Oh shit! Pig found our lab! Why can't you give us a fucking break?
Oh shit, those are some nice looking dentures. I hope they fit.
The explosion could cause the company enormous losses.
I'm a respectable citizen! I thought you said all the cops were fired! They were!
The developers did stretch the budget where it really counted. Peter Weller returns as Robocop and adds a lot of authenticity to the character.
I am sorry.
The rest of the movie cast is impersonated, but unlike the random NPCs, the actors do well enough to keep the main story afloat.
Alex Murphy is gone. He lost his life.
You've done more for this city dead than anyone has alive.
As easy as it is to poke fun at the execution, the storytelling is a step up from Terminator Resistance and does a fair job of extending the themes of the movie.
But what should we do now?
Are you still DTF? The way those NPC missions are paced is a far bigger problem than how they're acted. Crimes are spread few and far between and can be hard to spot without upgrading the scanner range, an issue that gets worse each time this map gets recycled. The initial trip downtown at least gives you a lot of evidence and stashes to collect, but when coming back for the daytime version, the modern-day equivalent of a pallet swap, most of the collectibles aren't refilled. I understand that there are realities a smaller developer has to work within, and reusing their biggest map must have saved a lot of time, but scouring all the same alleys and shops again in search of progressively diminishing content just doesn't work, and the length would have been just fine even without this padding. The third time downtown is visited, there are only 3 crimes to find. Even without knowing the exact scale of the city, I'm sure you can understand that wandering until tracking down one liquor bottle on the very outskirts of town is not a fun task. Robocop's extremely limited running speed makes this extra tedious. A turbo boost is available in combat mode but can't be used when enemies are absent, so this is what you're left with for traveling. The stiff movement is a problem during combat as well. Basic actions that you'd normally take for granted, like vaulting over or crouching behind objects, aren't available. That can make it hard to use cover and especially to avoid snipers. Obviously, this is part of Robocop's character. He was always portrayed as a lumbering tank, so that's how he plays. That's the whole premise of the game. But there is room to question whether a simple crouch would have ruined the immersion. The lumbering tank is what the developers committed to, and they certainly leaned into it. On normal mode, it feels as if the game was specifically built to spite the concept of cover. You can wade through hailstorms of lead and emerge with the health bar mostly intact, and healing pickups are given every 10 seconds. Most of the time I couldn't grab them because I was already full. This is on top of recharging stations, and a shield ability that briefly blocks most damage. Health is so generous that I didn't even bother to upgrade my vitality past the first couple of nodes. Terminator Resistance also had a problem with low difficulty, but Robocop at least has a built-in justification for being a bullet sponge. Still, if you want any kind of challenge, you need to start the game on hard. The one thing that did make my playthrough tough was the constant glitching. Aiming down sights is often delayed, with guns taking a few seconds to draw or to scope in. Weapon upgrades also constantly failed to apply. There's a neat mod system that allows you to find custom PCBs for Robocop's handgun and slot in chips with different effects. Full auto mode is one of the best enhancements, but every time I loaded a new area, the gun reverted to 3-round bursts. I had to start changing PCBs and then cancel in order for the mods to reload and function again. Cutscene animations can be really buggy, and distant NPCs can be seen either T-posing or suddenly dropping in place from above. Dialogue sometimes overlaps.
Maybe he did Mr. Page like to sail.
And thugs keep talking long after their heads have been exploded all the way off.
Bastard shot me!
A torso may occasionally dive out the window of its own accord. Riderless motorcycles rev themselves into the ground or hover in mid-air. The game is so busted that it's hard to tell deliberate glitches apart from real ones, and whether scenes are supposed to play out in the absurd ways they do.
How about I kill you for this? I'm gonna kill you for this! Hey, that stuff doesn't come cheap! No! That was the only... Now so every day. That is not a way to treat a famous person!
This is also not strictly a criticism of the game. Playing Rogue City is like going to a jank spa, just immersing yourself in hilarious chaos. Fixing some of these bugs would be like improving the effects in a low-budget movie. You're making it worse, not better. But the fun does stop when the game outright crashes. I constantly had to Alt-Tab or open Task Manager to close the game, and couldn't advance beyond a certain cutscene because the game reliably froze every time. The solution was to switch from full screen to borderless, which annoyingly forces 21:9 on ultra-wide monitors. At the time of writing, the most recent patch fixed 22 crashes, but I still encountered them at a similar rate afterward. Hopefully Teon has more fixes in the works, because this is still unacceptably wobbly for even a $50 product. It's not all bad on the tech side. It's using Unreal Engine 5 and can occasionally look really nice. Teon's strength is definitely in crafting environments and lighting, and not so much characters and animation. I wish they had supported HDR since it would have suited a lot of scenes well, but the game looks flashy enough as it is. The game also allows simultaneous mouse and controller input, which makes it a breeze to set up a Steam Deck for gyro and trackpads. Games always deserve extra credit for this small courtesy. If you're a fan of Robocop, then I recommend Rogue City, but only on discount and after another patch has arrived. I preferred the world of Terminator Resistance, but this is a slightly better and more consistent game overall. If it weren't so buggy, and if the open world segments didn't tank the pacing so badly, I'd consider it a surefire good time. Teon has a knack for making lovable junk based on 80s IPs, so Alien seems like a prime candidate for them to tackle next. Their AA budget may even produce better graphics than the AI upscale James Cameron just shat upon the world. Teon could probably deliver what Colonial Marines failed to, and as long as they nail the movie vibe as well as these past few releases, I'll...
Buy that for $1.